Welcome to the 2015 Used Embroidery Machine Buyer's Guide. What to look for new versus used in commercial embroidery equipment. And what we're going to try to do over the next few slides and with a little bit of commentary is help you determine whether or not a used embroidery machine and commercial equipment is right for you and what the pros and cons are in buying new versus used. So the biggest temptation for getting a used machine is probably the really low pricing. I mean, you'll spend anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 or more, depending on what level of the business that you're going into for a brand new embroidery machine. Now, for the typical startup that is looking at a single head machine, you're going to spend between $11,000 and $16,000 for a new machine, and probably between $8,000 and $12,000 for a used machine. So the reason, of course, that you're going to look at used is because of the pricing. Now, there's also this kind of mystique behind eBay and Amazon and Alibaba and places like this that kind of educate us or brainwash us into thinking that the best deal and the only way that you're going to get a great deal is by buying something from a bid site, a discount site, or from a manufacturing site like Alibaba. So there is a little bit of mystique there that might make you tempted to purchase a used machine. And then there's the friend of a friend thing. So you may not be ready to get into the commercial embroidery business, but you've got a friend of a friend or someone that knows someone who's getting out of the embroidery business and has a machine that they're trying to sell. So that's really appealing, right? Because you've already got a relationship, whether or not it's a first or second tier relationship with somebody that owns a machine that's looking to sell. And that can be really appealing because you're saving money and you have a certain comfort level there of who you're buying the product from. Or you may just be a deal hunter. So I know people, I'm married to a person that won't buy anything unless it's just an amazing deal. That part of the quality of the product or part of the goal in purchasing something is getting the best possible product at the lowest possible price, where the price is intrinsic to the value of the equipment. And that's not always the case when you're starting a business. But if you are a deal hunter, that is another big temptation why a used machine might be appealing to you. But the first thing I think we need to do is take a look at what makes a pro machine. What makes a commercial embroidery machine or professional embroidery machine meet the requirements to be called that. And the first one is probably the commercial construction of the equipment. Now, you can take a good high-end consumer machine or prosumer machine that you've been embroidering on for years, and really that's a lot of the way that people get into the business is they've got a home embroidery machine and they enjoy using it, and they start doing some things for friends, like maybe their logos or pillow designs or something along those lines, and they want to move up into the professional world. But honestly, if you use one of those even higher end consumer machines, whether it's a Happy or a Janome or anything along those lines, and you run it for 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week, like you will in a commercial business, it's just not going to last. It's not built for that kind of use. So a professional machine is built to be a professional machine. Professional machines are almost always multi-needle. In fact, if it's not multi-needle, then it's probably just a commercial sewing machine designed for cut and sew projects as opposed to embroidery. A multi-needle machine is necessary for the commercial business because you're going to be dealing with multicolor logos or multicolor designs, and you simply will not have time to produce enough with a single needle machine to sustain your business. And multi-needle can mean 6-needle monogram machine or 15-needle professional machine. The 6-needle is kind of going away in favorability. Most people are starting with a 15-needle or higher commercial embroidery machine, and that's one of the criteria to make it pro. Now, commercial or professional machines also have a larger sewing field. As you can see from the graphic I've I'm sure you've been eyeballing this for a few minutes now. There is a big difference between even this Brother. This is the sewing field on a PR1000, the Entrepreneur Pro, which is billed as a commercial machine. But frankly, this kind of sewing field, 8 inches by 14 inches, you're not going to effectively be able to do the really profitable jobs, which include jacket backs. It includes blankets, horse blankets. It might include large designs on bags or backpacks. And a large sewing field is a mandatory requirement for it to be really a professional machine. And of course, a professional machine comes with professional training and support. So if you purchase a consumer machine, you will often get some decent training on it, provided you do that from one of the local sewing centers or sewing shops. But when you purchase a commercial machine, they not only will go into the wide variety of products that you're going to use that are different than in the consumer environment, but they're going to be there in the long term for continued training and continued support. And that's a big differentiator. And of course, there are common features for a commercial machines that includes being able to easily do both flats and caps. The large sewing field, the multi-needle design. It has some kind of a memory storage on board that we'll talk about as well later. It is a heavy construction. Normally, a commercial machine also comes either as a part of or including a wheeled stand. So you can move it from one location to another because naturally it's going to be significantly heavier because of this commercial construction than a consumer machine will. Now, the other differentiator between a pro and a consumer machine is what's in the box. And this is a big differentiator when you are considering a used versus a new machine as well. So for example, when you purchase a new machine, like the little graphic for the Avance 1501C over here, you get 2 of each of the popular size hoops. I think it's 11 or 12 hoops that you get with the Avance, but any commercial machine is going to come with a suite of hoops. And these can be very expensive. They're anywhere between $30 and $90 or $100 for a hoop. And you want the hoops to come with the machine for a couple of reasons. First of all, you're going to get a job and you're going to reach for the appropriate hoop. It's not going to be there. You could lose the job. Or you could try to use a hoop that's too large or too small for a design. You'll damage the hoop or you'll lose a customer because the design won't sew out properly. So what's in the box is a big deal when you buy a used versus a new machine. If you're getting used, make sure that it comes with a full suite of hoops. Digitizing embroidery software is also a significant investment and a significant differentiator between new and used. So for example, if you were to purchase a new SWF or a new Avance machine, or even some of the other brands like Melco or Tajima, they're all going to come with some kind of digitizing software. So when you buy a new, and by the way, digitizing, if you don't know, is when you take a customer's image, a graphic or a JPEG or something that they give you, or you create your own actual design as opposed to lettering. So digitizing software like Sierra, Stitch Era, Universal, or Liberty will allow you to create original designs, bring in stock designs and add text to it, or edit existing embroidery designs that a customer might bring you or you might get from another vendor. Now that software can range anywhere from $50 to $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500. Normally when you buy a new machine, that's going to be included at some level with the purchase. If you're looking at a used machine, you may need to make sure that not only does it come with digitizing software, but that it is easily transferable to a new owner. So a lot of times with professional applications, there's an actual key or dongle that goes in the back of the computer that may or may not be able to be transferred over from one system to another. It may be older, so the software that comes with it may not be compatible with the new computer that you purchased for your business and to run your embroidery machine. Or it may be able to be transferred, but it's just a hassle. There's a fee, or it's just too much trouble. So keep in mind that you want to make sure a used machine comes with hoops and comes with embroidery software that you can actually use. And caps and cap drivers are a big deal. So embroidering on caps is one of the most profitable and popular commercial embroidery products that's available. And new machines, at least in the professional space, comes with what they call cap drivers, which are basically kind of like hoops to embroider on caps. You want to make sure that if you're getting a used machine, that it has not only the ability to embroider onto caps, but also has the equipment that it will take for you to embroider onto caps. And lastly, you're going to need supplies. You're going to need startup supplies, and not whatever is left over in your friend of a friend's embroidery business, okay? What you're going to need is enough or a wide variety of backings, of thread colors, of toppings, of solvay, of oil for the machine. You're going to need everything that you're going to use in that first, second, third, fourth, and fifth job that you get. Because what you don't want to have happen, just like with the hoops, is you don't want to get a job and reach to be able to do the cap that you want to do or the embroidery design you want to do and not have enough supplies to fulfill the job. Because then what happens? Then you're on the phone with a vendor like Coleman & Company. You're saying, okay, I need this kind of backing and I need this kind of toppings, and you'll have to get it overnighted. And it's not a great situation. So just make sure that if you buy used, that you get the supply kit that you need. If you buy a new product like the Avance, you will naturally get whatever supplies that you'll need to start up. Also, when you're looking at a used machine versus new, you need to think about the older machines. Now, embroidery machines, professional machines have been around for a long time, and they could still be in great working condition, even if they're 5, 10, 15, or 20 years old. They may operate just fine, but there are some issues just because of the older technology. And the first one is that most older machines run on floppy drives, and it's a 3.5-inch disc. Some of you out there may not even recognize this, but it's the original USB, okay? So some of the older machines use floppies. Floppies are actually getting a little bit hard to find. It's certainly outdated and causes parts issues. And of course, you can only fit so much information on a floppy. Modern machines use USB sticks, which hold 2 gigs and above, which will probably hold every embroidery design that you will ever do on a single USB stick. So floppy drives are a downside of using an older machine. Now, there are other memory issues, just like all of us when we get a little bit older. You might have some memory issues, and with older machines, they have smaller or even no onboard memory. Now, the advantage to a new machine is that, for example, on the Avance, I'll use that again as an example, is I can actually store well over 1 million stitches or 2 gigs worth of data on the machine. And that's a huge advantage because you're going to have a suite of current customers that always want the same logo on a hat. They always want the same names on a shirt. They always want the same design on a bag. And it is much more convenient just to keep those loaded onto the machine. Just hoop up the garment or the cap, pull up the design on your control panel on the machine, and hit sew, and you're done. Now, many older machines don't have display control panels. I will say, just like the floppy drive, there are add-on aftermarket control panels as well as USB drives that will work with or are backward compatible with some older embroidery machines. They're a little bit expensive. It could still be a good deal on an older machine. You just have to keep that in mind. Now, today's modern machines all have display control panels where you at least get some idea of what the design is that you're about to embroider. So if you have a USB stick with 100 designs on it, you can basically scroll through those and select the one that you want to output, getting some kind of a visual display, which you can't always do on older machines. And of course, newer machines also typically will have some kind of maintenance feature, like the SWF's automatic oiling system. So you just have to keep in mind that not only will you have to maintain them a little bit more because they are older, but that maintenance may take you a little bit longer. And lastly, of course, you have to bring up parts. The older the machine is, the less likely you will be able to find readily available new parts in a box. As a matter of fact, SWF as a brand, for example, changes their part numbers and has end-of-life parts. So sometimes you simply cannot get a replacement part that you need. So keep all that in mind when you're looking at one of the older machines. Training is a significant factor in success if you're a startup commercial embroidery business. Now, if you are an existing embroiderer and you're just thinking about adding on a machine, or you've had some past experience with commercial embroidery, then you may not need training as much. But if you are not, then it's absolutely vital that you get both hardware and software training on the product that you're going to use. Because what you don't want to do is try to figure things out after you get your first big job. You'll lose business. Okay, so the big question is how will you learn the machine and the business at the same time? That's where training comes in. With any new machine on the market, let's say except for the Brother and some of the consumer machines, you will get some kind of a startup training. With any Coldesi embroidery machine, for example, you can come to Florida or our New Jersey training center and get trained on site. There is live online training, which is the best in the business. And there are also self-paced training classes that you or maybe an employee can take just as a refresher. And you want to make sure that whatever training you get is on both the machine and the software. So it will be very inconvenient for you to buy a used machine and then go out and purchase software separately and then try to arrange training on just the software. It's a little problematic. Support is, of course, also one of the biggest factors in purchasing a used embroidery machine versus new. The first thing is the warranty options. Can you afford a repair bill? Any new embroidery machine, regardless of the manufacturer, comes with some kind of a warranty, often with extended warranties available. I don't necessarily recommend the extended warranties, but that basic warranty is a big deal. You get the embroidery machine, you're doing your first job, something breaks, you want to know that you have warranty support. And you want to know that you have real tech support for businesses, not a consumer helpline. Because someone on the other end of the phone that is used to supporting commercial embroidery businesses, they're going to know the situation you're in. They're going to know the products that you're dealing with. They're going to understand what you mean when you say you broke a needle the first time you tried to sew on leather, or that you're having hooping issues, or that your specific brand model embroidery machine is showing this error. So you need somebody that is used to running, operating commercial embroidery machines to support you. You're also going to want some kind of an online resource for fixing errors, because frequently it's going to be nights and weekends that you're doing your work just to get a job out. And having an online resource like a YouTube channel or a support site like support.coldesi.com is going to be a big deal. So you can just type in an error number and maybe get a video or an FAQ or a white paper that will walk you through how to fix it, so you don't have to talk to a support technician at all. So the big question is, if you're looking at a used embroidery machine, is after you purchase it, when you're doing your first job, if something happens, if the machine goes down, if you don't know what the problem is, what will you do? So make sure that you can answer that question before you purchase either actually a new or a used embroidery machine. So just the quick pros and cons. A used commercial machine, you get a much lower initial investment, or at least you can. You're going to possibly be able to buy more needles and more heads. So for example, maybe you were only looking at a single head embroidery machine new. Maybe you can stretch that to a 4-head or 2-head embroidery machine used. Or maybe you're just looking at a consumer machine and you only have a few $1,000s to spend. Possibly you can get a better quality commercial machine than you can a new consumer machine or prosumer machine. Now, the pros to a new commercial machine is, of course, you get a new warranty, you get consistent and usually free technical support with purchase, and you get training on the software and help in the business usually. And of course, we want you to take a look at Coldesi and the Avance line of products for a new machine, because of the low initial investment with the Avance, the incredible warranty, tech support, and really industry standard training on the machine, I think it will set you up the best for success versus just about any used machine on the market today. And of course, one thing that we didn't mention, the advantage to having a new machine typically is that you can trade up into a larger or newer unit. With the Avance, for example, there is a 2-year 100% trade-up guarantee. So if you do spend the money on a new machine and you come in and you get great training, you've started a business and you're very successful, if within 2 years you think you need more, you think you need to upgrade to a 4-head or a 6-head or larger commercial machine, which we always hope you do, you will get 100% of the purchase value of the machine itself back towards a multi-head machine. So that's it. That's our guide. That's our buyer's guide that walks you through the difference between a new and a used machine when you buy it on the open market. I hope that this has helped make you a great decision, and really inspires and propels forward your commercial embroidery business. If you want more information on the Avance, on any of the material that we've talked about here, we have white papers and articles on our websites. Just click down the Get More Information button below the presentation, or if you see one on screen, click on that, and we're happy to help you at Avance and Coldesi.